George from Warlung, and you're listening to the Dan Shan Show.
Hey, Phil and George from Warlung. How's things in Houston, Texas, guys?
Woo! It's going to be rainy today, but it's good.
Raining in Texas.
Yeah, but it's good. It's going to add a little bit to the horror aspect of the album release, maybe.
How was Halloween for you guys?
I had a good time. This year was pretty chill. I went to a party on the weekend, but for Monday, it was just a proper sit outside and pass candy out for the kids and crack some beers.
Nice.
And pass some beers out to the cool dads and moms.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Very conscientious of you. I like that. You're my kind of neighbor.
Yeah, we hit it off for sure.
What are you, George? You having a good time?
Good. Didn't really do much for Halloween. I just sat out, passed candy out, smoked a cigar, enjoyed the evening.
Nice. That sounds like my kind of thing as well. This is going to be an awesome chat. Right. Okay. So let's get on to it. You guys have just released your fourth hypnotic album, Vulture's Paradise, today. Actually, it's fresh off the press. How has the response been to the album? Obviously from journalists, you're still waiting to get the fans' perspective. And what's the build-up been like for you?
We just released it today. So far the response has been good. Usually it takes a while for people to really get used to it and have, more opinion about it. But, leading up to it, the singles and everything and the music videos, I don't know if they're just flattering us, but people seem to really be digging it. And, some reviews have been sort of coming out and I don't know, it seems it's been pretty positive so far.
Are you the kind of guys that go looking for? I always ask this question now and then. Do you look for reviews? Do you search your names and search stuff, or do you kind of avoid that?
On our like social media, every time we're tagged in something, like a notification pops up. So it's always like, oh, we got into a review. So yeah, usually how it happens.
You gotta have
I enjoy reading the reviews. I love it. I mean, most of the people that we get to review us, luckily, are pretty respectable names. So I'll see what they like to listen to and be like, all right, we're falling in right where we need to be. And, reading the comments and reviews, I think it's fun, whether they like it or dislike it, the opinions are valued. I'd agree.
Yeah, of course. Now, one of you said that you had to go big on this album. What did you mean by this? And was there any pressure from the outside or inside that made you come to that conclusion?
I think the pressure was from us, not really from anyone else. I think we just... we really liked our last few albums, but there was something a little bit missing in terms of like the bigness of the sound that we were trying to portray that we do live. So this time we're like, okay, we really have to capture our sort of live sound on this one, or else, what's the point of keep making records if it's not really going to be you?
Yeah, that nailed it. Just encapsulating the live, because if you see us live, it can be a loud presence experience. So just capturing that, like you said, is perfect.
And how do you like to write and record as a band? Are you quite the traditionalist kind of band in a room, or do you fire files over to each other? How does it work?
Go ahead.
Okay. Well, it all kind of starts with each one of us has a different, not a different, but kind of a similar process, I guess. We, if you hear a melody or idea or a riff, we'll take it and practice it show it to the guys, and we can sit there and just riff on that riff and write it, and evolves into one thing and then another thing. And then George can take it and be like, oh, well, I hear this perfect chorus idea from this other idea. And it can just evolve pretty gracefully or well written, the opposite way of writing lyrics and taking the lyrics and evolving that into riffs and music as well. In my opinion, George.
Yeah, we all kind of share ideas, and when I really like an idea that someone else has done, I'll record it in my phone and then see if it adds on to maybe some other pieces that I'm writing myself. And sometimes it does, and sometimes the other guys, they write lyrics and melodies, but nothing else, and then it fits with other things that I'm working in. So it's our band's kind of like a puzzle where we all kind of add a piece until we're pretty satisfied with what we're doing.
Yeah, and what forms the basis of your lyrical content, George? Do you do most of the writing, and what do you focus on the lyrics?
We all pretty much share lyrical responsibilities, but I'm pretty sure that we all agree that every time we write a song, it has to be like a different theme than any other song we've done.
Right. Okay.
Like we don't. I mean, sometimes we have the same motif in similar things, but like every song basically has its own story and narrative,
Right.
like separate than anything else. And I don't know, it ranges from anything from, the classical sort of like, horror and ghosts and fantasies, but also at the same time, there's, political aspects in there as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. We just try to I don't know, try to increase our range when it comes to lyrical themes.
Yeah, I got you. How do you think you're evolving album on album? You're on the fourth album now. How are things progressing through time for you guys?
I think every album so far has been better than the last, but that might just be an artist, bias because
surely that's got to be the goal, hasn't it? That's got to be the goal.
But yeah, that's got to be the goal. I would never continue writing albums if I didn't think it was better than the last. But I think we've gotten better than ever in terms of who we are as a band in the studio. We're more critical about what we do. And go ahead.
Yeah, I would say that like since we started, we've been pretty consistent about every week, once or twice, we're going to be together jamming. So like we've gotten so much more comfortable with each other, what we think we will do while we're playing, while we're just riffing, while we're jamming, the ideas we have. So since we've been pretty consistent about staying together in weekly jams, we just have these, grand ideas where we can kind of plan for the future, the next release, the other release, like what we want to work on. And I'd say we're pretty blessed group of dudes that we're best friends and we like to hang out and jam.
Well, that's really cool because it leads me on to this next question. Let's have a history lesson in Warlung. You formed, I believe, back in 2016, so 6-7 years ago, maybe now. How did you get together and how far do you guys go back?
Oh boy, that's a good question because I think that's what makes our band so special is that we've all been like friends for a very, very long time.
Mm-hmm.
Me and Phil have known each other since we were like 12.
Wow.
We grew up in school together, pretty much see each other every week since then.
Yeah.
Ethan and Chris are brothers, so they grew up together playing music together. And we've known those guys for over a decade, early 20s hanging out. Phil, you guys were in the band together?
Yeah. We're all once in a band together. I was with Chris for a long time in another band called Rivers, like a jangly garage rock band that was a good time for the early 20s. And George would come in and play bass every now and then. We had a rotating door of bass players, but essentially we got together because we all had a love for Black Sabbath, of course.
Yeah.
We had a Halloween show offer, like, hey, I think George, you got offered a show, like, hey, you want to play Black Sabbath? And you reached out to us to kind of fulfill the other duties. We all dressed up like the characters from Ozzy, from Black Sabbath. And
it was Ozzy. I was 20.
Yeah, it was great. And we had a good time with that show. We played about 13 Sabbath songs, and after that we're like, okay, this is too good not to continue because our chemistry was so perfect as all four of us together. And we just started writing riff after riff after that.
Mm-hmm. And where does the name Warlung come from? How did you guys come to agree on it?
We were just throwing around ideas, like usual, and had a whole list of words, and we were just putting words together. It doesn't really mean anything. It's just I like the flow of it. I don't really know.
Completed our first album, and we still didn't really have a band name because we never played shows until after we wrote and recorded our first album. So we were kind of like, all right, we're down to the wire. Like, we're going to try and release this soon. We need to come up with a band name. And we were thinking about it the whole time. And after looking at our storming list of ideas, we all kind of settled on Warlung.
What do you think it means?
I don't know what it means, but I know what it reminds me of. It reminds me of a warthog for some reason. And like, I just imagine just a warthog, just like this dirty beast that's like, I don't know, hunting and angry. I don't know why.
Funny.
Yeah. I've always thought, like the combination of a battle cry, Warlung, like you're screaming, and also the black lung, decay, disease of war and all that. So just kind of.
That's how I see it.
Yeah,
for sure. And when you formed, did you know what sound you wanted to create? Obviously, with the Black Sabbath thing, did you know that was a route you were 100% going to go down?
Like, I just sort of kind of just writing the riffs in sort of the album where, like, I think the first album really captures like what we were going for, and I think we've stayed pretty true to that sort of style. I think, from the beginning, definitely.
Yeah, and taking it heavy, and then going back to the roots of just rock and roll as well. We didn't want to be, we're a doom band, we're death metal band or whatever. We just kind of want to cover all aspects, keep it psychedelic, keep it riff heavy, and all about harmonies and riffs.
Well, you know what? This is what I truly believe. I believe that your music can be listened to by anyone who loves rock and metal. I think it tips into all styles and ticks a lot of boxes. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, that's kind of exactly what we're going for. We dabble in stoner rock, we dabble in rock and roll, we dabble in a little bit of punk, a little bit of psychedelia, a little bit of classical, and the melodies, can be considered sort of poppy. So anyone who likes any of those genres, I think, could like us.
And also, you can drop runes on the end there. It's like something from an atmospheric black metal band.
Yeah.
That's good to hear. Yeah, for sure.
When I heard that, I was like, yes, it's a great closer, this.
All right. Yeah. Thanks, man. Yeah, if we can try and get on like each song can be on a different genre's playlist, we'll be happy with that.
Yeah, exactly. And keeping with that theme on this next question, I read this great quote and I want your opinion on it to see if you agree with it. And the quote is this, and I'm sure you've read it if you stick by, what you said earlier about reading things. It said that their sense of storytelling and gift for delivering massive and invigorating anthems should win over fans of the likes of Ghost, Uncle Acid and the Deadbeats, and Pentagram. What do you think to that?
We're honored to be in that category. That's for sure. I think it kind of goes back to our idea of themes, and each song is a different theme, like what's it like walking into a haunted house versus like being in the Vietnam War. There's so many like epic stories that you can get an idea from, and like sticking to the one thing just is kind of boring to us. So we all try and think of like, what if we write a song like this with a big story tell, and then you never know, we can make an awesome music video or turn it into a movie. Who knows? Like, having these grand ideas per song, I think, helps deliver that. And with regards to the bands you mentioned, that's perfect. Yeah, because we love the harmony and the melody with the heavy riffs. So, like, we want those pure harmony, good melody, awesome vocals accompanied.
I would add, like, not only just like the lyrical stories, but the music itself sort of is the story in it as well. Because like the way we structure our songs, we try to make it as dynamic as possible, where there's ups and downs and fast parts and slow parts, so it actually feels like a film or like a movie. And that's what makes it interesting. That's what helps tell the story too.
Yeah, for sure. Going back to a very young Philip and a very young George, what first got you into rock and metal, guys?
Oh man,
our dads.
Yeah, for sure, Dad.
Right.
Well, yeah. I mean, my dad and Phil's dad introduced the classic rock. That was like middle school intro, just like classic rock, old school stuff. I think it grew from there, really.
Yeah, we're both pretty blessed in the father department, and they're pretty cool dudes that have always had our back with the music and probably pushed us to keep going more than as when we were younger. Like, just keep playing the riffs, let's go. And then once George and I met, we just both fell in love with the same music and ran with it.
So did your fathers come from a Black Sabbath kind of background?
My dad was more like he introduced me a lot to like Zeppelin and Floyd, and like you loved like Neil Young, like that sort of style. And then Sabbath, I don't know how I really discovered them, but yeah, after I heard that, I was like, okay, this is
the progression.
That's it for me. Yeah.
Yeah, same. My dad is definitely a big Black Sabbath guy for sure. We have young photos of him. I think he's wearing like a 1980 Black Sabbath World Tour shirt, and I recently asked him about it, and he was like, "Yeah, I had to give blood for that show," and I'm like, "That's what's up!"
Yeah.
Like, it was like blood for concert tickets, and that's freaking sweet. So.
That's cool.
Have you guys ever been to the UK?
I've only been to the airport. That's it.
Yeah, I haven't been. Well, went to Ireland. That's about as close as I have been there, and but I would love to go ASAP.
You guys have got to go and smell the metal streets of Birmingham.
Yeah, we really do.
I would love to.
It's an unusual place.
Yeah, my brother-in-law is from Manchester, and he's always telling us, you got to get Warlung over there. He's showing his friends and family over there because it's right up the vein that they like.
Exactly. It's a unique place. Now, with regards to the artistic direction of the band, as in logos, videos, covers, etc., are you DIY when it comes to all these things? Did you come up with your own ideas, or do you outsource?
It depends. Like logos, we outsource. We find our art and our artists. We find, but like our music videos and stuff, and that's all Phil. Phil has the mind for that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've outsourced a couple music videos, but just getting behind the computer and messing with things has always been fun. And we've made movies and done videos since George and I have been young too. So like, it's always just been a passion of mine as long with the music. But the artists, I mean, there's so many awesome artists out there for the album covers and logos. It's just crazy for us not to reach out to them and get their opinion. I mean, we'll pitch an idea to them, and then they'll like give their iteration of that idea. And and we 90% of the time we love what these artists are doing. So
what's going on with the current album cover?
Yeah, that idea we pitched to is her name Mika? I hope I'm saying that right. But we came up with that idea because we had the name Vulture's Paradise, and we gave her a rough draft. We like drew it ourselves and gave it to her, and she came up with something a million times better.
Yeah.
When we first saw that, we're like, oh yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah. But we liked her art before because she was already making art in the same themes that we were thinking. Like her art sort of revolves around like decay, and which is like, and like nature. So it was like that's exactly what we wanted this cover to portray.
So, with regards to Philip, you said that you deal with like the videos and stuff. Was it your idea for the Return of the Warlords video? And what's with the animal masks? And why did who got the right to have the Dalmatian one? Did you fight over it?
Actually, yeah. So I've been inspired by a bunch of DIY videos, and that place we filmed it at was just our practice studio. So we gave it a deep clean and threw a projector in there, bought a bunch of lights, and I was pretty much just like, all right, guys, we're just going to film the set playing the song a bunch of times. And trust me, we're going to get some good footage out of it. And just inspired by what other people have done on YouTube and really just filming a bunch of stuff. And as far as the animal mask go, I just kept thinking like, okay, what can we kind of do to maybe set us apart from just us in the room playing, yeah, that's cool too. But what about something to flare it up? And on Amazon, I just searched up animal masks, and I think the Dalmatian was the first one that popped up, and I'm like, oh, that's mine. And
we all get to choose our own.
Yeah, I sent them the list, and I was like, all right, guys, here's all these masks we can get, but I'm taking the Dalmatian.
That's funny. So that video, obviously the track Return of the Warlords, does it have anything or any connection to Manowar's 1996 album Return of the Warlord, or is it just purely coincidental?
Well, that must be coincidental.
Really?
I'm sure that title's been used multiple times, like many other things. Yeah, I didn't know that.
Yeah. The 1996 man. When I first saw it, I was like, that pricked my interest. I was like, Then I probably realized the style of music is so off with you both. But you might have been fans. I don't know.
Sometimes, like whenever I come up with song titles, I like Google it or search it in Spotify, and like sometimes there's like 100 songs named that. So I'm like, what's the big deal? We can
who cares?
That.
Yeah, who cares? God, who cares? God.
Mm-hmm.
So touring wise, what's the plan, guys? And have you done any shows outside the States, or are you just focusing on Texas at the moment? What's going on?
Tonight we have our album release show in Houston, which it's just a local show, and then next in February we're heading to Europe to meet up with Gabe at Heavy Psych, and he's got a little 3-week run for us there, so we're super stoked for that. It'll be our first time touring over there.
Yeah, we'll probably come through the UK at some point, probably.
Yeah, cool. So where's the European dates? Do we know yet? Is it out there? Can we?
We have the dates there, but all the cities and stops aren't 100% released yet. So I think that should be coming up very soon, though. Within the next couple weeks, we should be hearing exactly the route we're going. But we'll be going with Cadabra. Yeah. I don't know if you're familiar with them, but they're from Washington, and they're so sick, heavy psychedelic band to its core, and we're so pumped to hit the road with them. So
awesome. And you mentioned it earlier, your shows are very, important to you. What can we expect? If you've never been to a Warlung show, what can we expect from it?
Well, go ahead, George.
I guess one thing we like to do, we just like to show that we're having a good time. Like so many times you go see bands and they kind of just stand in there, even if the music's good. But we like to have a little bit of a party on stage. We like to pump up the energy and get the crowd feeling how we're feeling and laughing and joking with each other on stage. And that's the kind of atmosphere that we like to provide.
Awesome.
Yeah, pretty much from a young age, being in bands since I've been in high school, hardcore bands up to garage bands to psychedelic bands. My philosophy's been if you're having a good time on stage, it doesn't sometimes it doesn't matter what the music sounds like. The crowd's going to be having a good time too.
Of course.
So if you accompany with good riffs, it's just a perfect formula for an awesome show of loud jams and good vibes.
Who would you like to tour with ideally? In an ideal world, guys,
Ooh, well, actually, we're really happy that we're going with Cadabra. That was we were talking about that even before this tour was booked. We're like, oh, that'd be great. And
I mean, some modern influences have been there's a ton of bands we'd love to tour with, All Them Witches. Those guys are so sick. We love what they're doing.
Awesome.
Elder, Cadabra is awesome band too.
I would love to tag on with Uncle Acid because I feel like we're right up their alley. I think their fans would love us if they knew us, and I don't know, we'd be a great support.
I saw them play with Ghost, but in Vienna back in May. Pretty awesome.
Oh yeah,
with Warlung opening up that show, oh man, that's perfect.
That was a pretty good show. Now, for an end of year special, I've been asking bands I've been interviewing all year long, so I need to know what you think is the heaviest riff of all time.
Oh boy. I don't, just off the top of my head, just when you said that, this word came up, I would say the intro to Cornucopia by Sabbath.
Yeah.
I just love that riff, and I don't know, it's just heavy.
That's yours, George.
Especially for 72. Jeez.
Yeah. Philip?
Oh man, that is so tough for me. The best heavy riff. Man.
In your opinion, mate. In your opinion, you don't have to follow the crowd. It's whatever you think.
Let's see here. The first thing that would come to my head.
You're scrolling through Spotify now, aren't you?
No, honestly, I don't want to sound cliche here, but Sweet Leaf has always been one of the riffs that hits so hard to me, from the cough to the straight riff.
Yeah,
so it's always been one that just blasts in. So
I just had this feeling. I mean, Sabbath comes up so much, but I knew it was going to come up twice today.
Yeah. I mean, you think heavy riff? I mean, Tony Iommi is the riff king. So,
cool.
I would have to say just the intro to Sweet Leaf, it hits so hard.
So who from the metal world would you want to go on a big drinking session with?
Oh, jeez. Alive or dead?
Whatever you want.
I would. I don't know if it's from the metal world, but I'd drink with Bonzo, John Bonham, just to see if the stories are true,
and throw Oliver Reed in that as well. He'd have a right good night.
Yeah, right. Awesome.
Do you agree?
Oh yeah, that would be a party that I would hopefully probably forget.
Yeah, exactly. Now, what one thing do you think everyone should try at least once?
I don't know. Mushrooms just came to mind immediately, you know,
yeah.
I was going to say love, but that works too.
Wow.
I don't know.
Mushrooms and love.
Mushrooms and love.
Together.
Sounds like a perfect party with Bonzo and Oliver Reed. Yeah. Anyway, now you guys are the only Americans I've spoken to with these big midterms coming up. What's happening with it? And are you political? You mentioned that you like to drop political lyrics in. What's your opinion? What's going to happen? Well, is it the 8th, isn't it?
Yeah, that's voting day. Yeah.
So what's going to happen? I don't know. I'm just a European. I don't know what's going to happen. How important is it?
I'll tell you what, man. Nobody knows what's going to happen. Every time I think like what's going to happen, I can't. You never know. I mean, what has happened was so unexpected. It's like, how can we ever predict what's going to happen? But I voted. I think, Phil, did you already vote?
Yeah, I voted already.
So what's it for? The midterms? What is it? What can it change the House of Representatives? What does it do?
It's a lot of like governor elections, state elections. So it's just about like in each state is different, completely different. So depending on where you live can affect majority of the votes. You know, you can have a strong opinion, but 70% of the people in your state are opposite. So it is it's frustrating for sure.
Really?
And it's really hard to predict, like George said, because it's been crazy.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. As the world looking on, it's even crazier. But then things are crazy in Europe, so I think it's a worldwide issue.
That's sort of why we include a lot of this in our lyrics, like, you know, politics and world destruction and everything, because, you know, it's sort of been the theme of history for the past 5,000 years, so why not sing about it?
Yeah, interesting. Right, okay, couple more questions. Now, I'm going to bookend this interview with two Warlung tracks. You can have one each, guys. So what one Warlung track sums the band up the best? But I'm going to say two because you get one each and you can't choose the same one.
From this album or all of our albums?
Whatever you like.
I think I have mine, but you go ahead, Phil.
All right. I think so. This last album is just an encapsulate. Like it has everything I think we have been in the past all wrapped into one. And honestly, the track that we released earlier, Sky Burial, I would say is just covered in everything we do, from the big riffs. There's like 3 guitar solos on that song. There's harmonies. There's melodies. There's just, it's so powerful to me. And I think that is where we're at as a band for sure.
Right. I'm going to start the interview with that. George, what's coming up next?
I would say Coal Miners from our album Immortal Portal.
Yeah.
To me, that song is like one of the best structured songs we've written. It's a long epic. You know, there's heavy choruses, soothing verses, an awesome bridge, and a badass outro solo. And I think that, like it is everything that we do well, all in one song.
Awesome. That is coming up next. Now, last thing, you've got the floor to talk directly to Warlung, the Warlung Appreciation Society. Your fans, go.
We love y'all. Thank you. Appreciate everybody supporting us, everybody who listens to us, who tells their friends about us, who shares our music. It's such a process to get music made, and there's so much work put into it. So when people like it and share it and listen to it, we can't thank y'all enough. It's awesome.
Phil, George, thanks for joining me on the show, guys. Good luck with the album and the subsequent tours to follow. I hope to see you next year in Europe.
I hope to see you too. Thank you so much.
Hell yeah, man. This has been a pleasure.